the Nukuda, I'm saying, Punkt, when I get to the part of Legani, dann verstehen, wie der Hemmschich hat waren. But by even Klali, wie es weiß zu Chais, one part is that but other chas, the Indian of the Maila Adin Kesh is the Indian Helen. You know, the Matamada Adin Tachlis is Indian Agilui. That the Eir itself is made in Mizgal of the Maila Adin Kesh is verkehrt the fact that the Indian is almas, that the Eir could be an Eifin of his almas. So there's, and the fact that the Eir could be Misalim, that's a higher Ilui than the Indian Agilui, which is Neir. And the Rebbe speaks Kama Dargis in the Indian Helen. So the Etzim, when you get to the Eir Abligvul, which the Pula says since the Eir Ablig was that there was the Siluk, his Almas Eir. The Gabi that Indian, the Mile is that the fact that the Eir could be an Eifin of Helim, that's Nevea Mitzad, the Indian Iskalus Batzmusis Bar. Mitzad the Eir, the way it's Begeder Gili, Kenesh Nishzan Behelim. The fact that the Ufta of Tzimtzum is the fact that the Eir could be. Siluk doesn't mean that the Eir was Nistalik from Miram Tzir. The Eir is an Eifin of Helim. The fact that the Eir could be Nimtza by an Eifin of Helim, that's Nevea Mitzad, that the Iskalus Eir Batzmusis Bar. The Eir, the way it is Mitzad Amayr, Mitzad that is not Muchrach that it should be an Eifin of Hergish. That's the Ili of Helim, Mitzad the Etzin of Siluk. The Gabi the Eir Abligvul. The verstehen wie es Lepel has to do with Legani also, even though it's not the word that the Rebbe is Madgish. Legani, the Rebbe is Madgish, the word is that it's Be'en Arech, the Eir Agvul, the Gabi the Eir Abligvul. But the Gabi the Eir Abligvul, the Indian Atzimtzum, he's not Mishtana, Mishtana the Tzimtzum, because the Rebbe says a Lashon there, that he's Begili even Mitzad the Tzimtzum. I mean, the Tzimtzum is not Pel any Shin of the Gabi him, the Gabi the Eir Abligvul. And the fact that the Tzimtzum, this Amos, is not Gerim any Shin in the Eir, that's Mitzad the fact that the Eir is a Prat and Atzvus. The Eir, the way it is Mitzad Amayr. The Eir, the way it be Mitzad the Gather of Eir, then Tzimtzum would be a stira to the Eir. Because Eir in Yan is Gilu, his Pashtus. And Helam is a Tnua that is Hepechai his Pashtus. It would be a Shin in there. So the mile of Helam, the Eir Abligvul, is that the Indian Helam brings the fact that the Eir is Nimtza. Even though the Mekabel is not Margish there, the Eir is Nimtza, it's not Mishtana, that's in Tzumim, that's Neveh, it's the fact that the Eir is the way he is inside the Etzim, inside the Amar. This Prat is clear. As it asks me. There's Prat in there, but that's what I think is that Prat. I'm going to get, then the Rebbe speaks in that Tzimtzum Eir Agvul. And Eir Agvul is an underword. The Ufta of Tzimtzum Eir Agvul is, that's also what the Rebbe brings at the beginning, that L'choste in that Tzimtzum Eir Agvul is the Kolam. So what's the Rebbe mean, Maktim? The Rebbe is bringing out a mile in Tzimtzum. That Tzimtzum is not just in Rebbe's Almas. The fact that on Tzimtzum was Chishtareis gebracht der Eir Agvul. The fact that Ein Savash Lemus the Kola, and he's also Kel Eir Agvul, that's his Gala der Tzimtzum. And the Rebbe says this word of Eir Agvul, that's Dafki since he's Ein Savamitius, but it's Nishaychus Legabe of Shum Teir and Vagbolis, but mainly it's not only Eir Abligvul, also Eir Agvul. So the fact that the Eir could also come an Eifin of Eir Agvul, that brings out the Mitius Ein Sof of the Eir, of the Ein Sof. And that's Dafkin is Gala der Tzimtzum. The fact that the Eir could be Nimshach and Eilemis, without being Shale of them, that's the mile of Eir Agvul, Eir Anesim Makam Limtzias, that's Dafkin is Gala der Tzimtzum. So that's the mile of the Indian Ahelim, the way it is inside the Eir Agvul. Yeah? And then there's the third Indian, that even the Inyani Aprimi of Tzimtzum Gufet Zishulagibit. The Inyani Aprimi of the Metzias is in order for, is that the Ein Sof is not Mugder and Yitzir, it could also be an Indian of Metzias. Huh? Oh, Derech Indian of the Magid. That's the Techen Primi of Gvul Gufa. That's the Techen Primi of Gvul Gufa. And the Magid, we'll see later, could be a more general word. But der wird verstandig. It's clear this in you. Good. Here is another Zach. This goes back a little bit to Baal Shem Tov, but let's see the same. So, hey, Nemesh, Shanisi, Afak became and again like Hilu Bihil Abehelam Acherem. Okay, but that's Viful Nishmiret. So, what's the Rebbe saying? Even though that mitzvah in that Tzimtzum Zishul Hilu, you're at Masvig event that even Mitzad Rav. The mitzvah Talmud Guf is also by Mesas Cholik, because the whole kavanah is in Tiyas of Kamesi that the Talmud Guf should be Nesal, that the Gvul Guf should be Nesachid with the Gvul. So mitzvah Amitis Inyan, the Gvul is never a nituk from the Eitz of Velikos, because the Guf is that's all mitzvah Amitis, that the mitzvah Amitis of Bligvul of Velikos, even the Gvul could be a keli to Bligvul, but that's mitzvah Amitis Inyan. But Begoli Lepoil in of Helen, Lepoil the Talmud Hertish the Isgalasara. Now the Rebbe is adding here, so that's we're the fact that the fact that the Helen is not the Talmud, let's say, or the Yesh is not a tnua of Pirutzim Malukos, that means that the mitzvah in. But mitzad the Indian, the way it's nireh begoli, the way it's nireh bechitzenius, it's a tnu of helam v'hester. And then the Rebbe is saying, we're saying, Kanal Teres Abba Shem Tov, there's a nekud of helim, which in Yoni is not b'shul agili. It's not stam as a first. We're saying the seder. There's there's the seder. There's the mata and tachas. There's the way the mata is nerakav. There's the way it's ne'elam is ain't soft. There's the way it's not tzilas. The way it's simbia. So al derech there's the inner of helen. The way it's an eretz of abligvol. There's the inner of helen. If you learned in the Mamer, the Rabbi speaks about the mata and the tachas. He also speaks in such a way. There's the mata and the tachas and tzfiris and ketz, and then there's the acharat tzimtzum. Dargis. Al derech there's the helen achar helen mitzad the era bligvol, the era gvol. The inner tzimtzum, the way it is mitzad amitas inyan. And then there's the way you look at it. The way it's nireh b'chitzenius. The way it's nireh b'chitzenius, not mitzad the mitasin. The way it's nireh b'chitzenius, the inyan hahelim is the inyan of hedra hergish halakus, or tnu of nitik from halakus. And then there's nishtal shel hahelim, which in yon is taken up b'shul agili. Mitzad the nature of the helim. When the Baal Shem Tov speaks about achenasa cheshach v'vayu, cheshach v'vayu is klippet shemanaget halakus. So that's a helim which is not in yonei in order to be megale in this. Something megala, they're going against the Eibishter. When you speak at the estimate of Mitzias, there's a Shemayim, there's a Etzem Geder of Gvul. Not that in Yana is Lichber Bavai. Estimate of Gvul, which is not Margish Lukus. Now you can say the Kavana is that even a Mitzias, which is Mechutz Lukus, to be Nesachet of Bligvul. But the Tnu of Toiv Avay, the Tnu of Klippe, the Tnu of to be Kaifer Lukus, that's the hell in which there is not Margish Lukus. And there it's dirt and Hetachish the Nekudah is Tzimtzum Shalagid. The Rebbe is speaking about a lower Eifen of hell. That's and to the extent of which there is nishchalder beer of helam mishulagili. So what's the ilu of this helam? The lamala that gets over here. You can't say the ma'ili is that a lukus can echet kumen and aveg that azula should be a keli for it. So then you're only being that's only mitzad the amitis in of the helam that in yad is the shulagili. But what about the helam of klip of toiv avayu, which is glad to say lichbar b'avay echad, not an Indian of gili, or the matziv of the etzem Indian of matzias hergesh hayeshes. Not the way it's smeared amitis Indian, and that's also Indian amiti mitzad lukus. There's the matzav of the etzem zach as a nivra as a herzach lukus, and there's that's one of the l'mayla I think gets, and there's an ilu miyuchad in that tnuah, the etzem tnuah of heder hergish lukus, his almos of lukus, not b'shul agili. The etzem tnuah of his almos of lukus. That's a mila over the Indian agili. There's a certain ilu that it does get the Rebbe Leiden done. So it comes in the Geshma in Teres Hashem Tov. The Rebbe speaks. The Rebbe starts right in the beginning that the Friedigam Lashon is same lamata and tachas is lamata mata adin shir. Lamata I guess is lamai adin shir. But the Friedigam the Mamer that nor it's tzimtzum rishon. So the Rebbe brings after break the Teres Hashem that there's the helim adin shir. So he brings and the Baal Shem Tov is machalik in two bubbles. There's the helim of aleph atov mitzias elumis, and then there's the of cheshach toiv avayu, which is the of klippus. That's in other words is helim b'shvil agili, and there's helim she'eni yada b'shvil agili. Stam as he says. So then sagt der Rebbe da, das ist ein anderer Bier. Wieso schon anschaue Mamer, ist interessant, was der Rebbe says. Schon ein anderer Wort. He says, Afa bishe jedem shebachol ini yesh davar mechaya is yeah, agam as yada. The Rebbe is saying interessant Sache. Yada in a ways that there's the mitzvah. In other words, that's the word pasha. That the mitzvah mitzad is not the mocker of his chayis. That everybody understands that everything, the life stems from different mocker, not from different mitzvahs. Okay, today you have people that maybe they think the person there's no nefesh machaya, the guf itself is a machine. I'm not sure what but I'm saying the mitzvah bari. There's a nefesh machaya a guf, and the nefesh leaves the guf dies. It's not the guf itself. The psar guf itself contains within itself the power of chayis. So there's everybody knows that there's a whole Indian. There's a davar machayis. I mean, saying if you're not going to live in denial, so there's a source of life which gives life to everything. And the psar, the geshem adavar mitzadatzmi is not chayis. Varaya gets vashimot and the chayis is nistalik. Different rayis chassidus. Aval became that we know there's a davar mechay called that. Aval became yachaliyis keelu shetoyim ve'edim yedim margishim shechay shalom elokus. Va'at shel efshel lavi la'heipich l'shamayim Hashem rekeich be'etzim yadi. Ve'edis shem l'yir v'ani yisasini. I just wanted, what does everyone want to bring out of here? The Rebbe wants to bring out this type of helim. Here the beer is not that the helim is a shulagili or psamayla that inside this Indian lukus can come in lamata. I want to bring out azasar helim can nar zayin okay chaliki. Such a helim v'hester mitzad gidra mitzvahs what she can't say as a helim v'hester. I was bringing out this Indian. You're not being ma'ila. Certain things you say they're not public things, or you have to be psamaimek to notice it. Certain things, it's the mitzias, the apparent mitzias is veifanach. Yeah, the einer weiß that the nivra is not chai me'atzma. He said, yeah, the einer weiß is a mensch starved, and his chai is just totally never shemachai. And still, he convinces himself that the main thing is the brias haguf, the guf, and he's not metapel in his nefesh. So Azazar tell him that it doesn't make sense this halav Esther. The fact that there is such a halav Esther is because that's what the Eibishter is the That's the reason Azazar tell him Esther was kleptish. Not stam as they saying. So in Basi Varaifin brings Chares Alakus, the fact that only the Eibishter could create such a halav Esther. We're going to see what the Ili is, but the Rebbe is speaking such a halav Esther. There's different types of lamas were stated. The etzmin of tzimtzum derech siluk. We don't ask a question. How could there be a matzah when says the pshitas v'lukus b'schachos? So there's a tzimtzum. So herzach ishtein sof. So herzach ishtein sof. So there's the hergish mitzvahs. Here they were saying everybody. We're all speaking about a zelcha sart halamas v'esteirim that it doesn't make sense that the nivra doesn't have hergish solukus, or it denies the fact that there's an eibishter. Only the eibishter can make such a halav. That's the and then b'shtei the ili that. The koyach halaki, which is expressed in the fact that he's able to hide himself, is a deeper koyach than the koyach of gili, that he's able to reveal it, that he's able to reveal himself. But first, the Rebbe stellt avek that we're dealing with the Zashat Halam v'Hester, which nor the Rebbe shekamach na Halam v'Hester. You see, one way you say is the teacher leaves the room, so you don't see him, or you need, in order for them to be in such denial, he has to activate it. You need him to create such a Halam v'Hester. Him leaving is not going to create ad kedekach hazam shagas that people are going to think because the Metzias is that without Siyata D'Shmaya, let's say nothing. So an Ava became a person denies facts that he sees with his own eyes. That's only the Eibusher could create such a halav Hester. So that's the Keich Halki, which is near in the Hester Gufa. What's that I'm saying? I'm just saying why the Rebbe is made so much. What's happening as if the halav Hester? Yet the Nivra is a Ma'arish. The Friedrich is the Mamer is Ma'arish. Is explaining what the Friedrich wants to be guarded. That's a ilui noisif. What's nisgale, what brings chares in the tuna of lamay adin ketz, which you don't have in lamata adin tavis, which you don't have in the darkest earlier of lamay adin ketz.
What's the ilui that comes out?
We'll see later. I'm just saying. First, he's explaining. I'm just saying the word. It's one thing you say is that everybody knows. The fact that we don't feel the lukus because the Eibush doesn't sound to himself. That's not a chiddush. You say the teacher left the room, no one knows that he's there. We're saying something else. We're saying this type of denial, the Eibush is the one actively creating it. Only he could make such a halav Hester. Not only he could hide himself. Only he could create such a phenomena that you're able to live in such a denial. That's what he's being mazbul there. And then we're going to see that the Keich Hester is a deeper Keich than the Keich Hagil. It's like this. They were speaking with the Eitzim Halav Hester, but it's more to bring out how this type of Halav Hester is Atakel Mustatir, not the Rebbe Shekamach Halav Hester. That's a big difference if you say that the fact that we don't feel it because he hides himself, or he creates this type of Halav Hester, and then Nish that either of them is not that he's able to be mahapech this Halav together. The etzem fact that the Eibush could be in such a Eifen of Halav Hester, that itself expresses his godliness. As there can machen as a Hester. That we'll see. Das wie sie drin, aber became Yachalias Keilu Shatoim Benim Yedem. I give you Chai Shalom. Look, it's a Pelagodl. Even though you know yourself that the Chayis doesn't come from you, there's a Nefesh of Chayis. And every morning, the person wakes up refreshed in the morning. And Alan McCain, he thinks that the case when he knows himself that his Chayis is not dependent on him. There's some Makar Eli. So, Samad Netos. Not only he's not margish, but there's a fact that he's person gets such a toss, it can be in a Vedas Adam also, that everything's dependent on him. But again, to Ikrim Mitzuyusid, this Chai, he knows that his nefesh that there's a Dover Machai, but Avah Ken there's a Chaim, that everything's dependent. I created the fact that I have a nefesh machayes. He says, "Hine l'chura adis." One of the Yisrachim Babel the Hechers or Shemaim Nasu. But you can say, "Yeah, but Chassidus sometimes the Helim that the etzem mitzias hayesh betivay." The alternative is the Rebbe's Mamer Basi Legani Yirale. That the hergish hanivra betivay is mitzias imasmos. Yeah, nivra mitzvah is not margish. Eir Hashemesh it's part of its makeup is that it's an extension of the shemesh. And nivra gashmi is the created, so you're a result of something. But it's regesh tivi is not that it's a result of something else. It's ashpa from somewhere. He's here. In the regesh tivi of the yesh, his mitzvah is that he exists, not that he comes from somewhere. So that's Helm Vest. If the Amos of Mary given, so then it would be nirgash in the nivra that is a titzah. He was nishaber. That's not nirgash in the nivra. But the Rebbe Retnish there Helm. So that the Dvar Avai is the Helm Vest. Here the Rebbe is saying without being zeichel that it says that it's a Helm Vest which doesn't make sense. The fact that he's misalik, it's not nirgash in the basic. The yesh is not margish as makut. The yesh is not margish. The yesh is mile himself. The yesh is not margish as makut. But a person not zeichel. And if you're going to make an honest calculation of what's going on, you say someone walks into a room and you see that there's 10 people there and he's going to be convinced that there's 100 people there. You know, he makes such a mistake. The reality is otherwise. So here, you look at the world, and it says, what's the hechrech? And not, they're saying, not a hechrech from cheshbeinus. You look at the mitzvahs, k'may ato, you see that this thing is not self-sustaining. But do what's like the Rebbe says when they get to the word of chayis. It's yet in their base that a davar cannot exist without a davar mechayes. And there's no mitzvahs that its chayes and kiyum exists within the geshem of the mitzvahs itself. So Al Teres that brings here that if you look at the mitzvahs honestly, so the mitzvahs alone advice their own that it's totally in a body. What do you see that? It says Kumuvur Tishvar Chagatam Arash Hamshich Mayim Rabbi. It's not the Hamshich Mayim Rabbi, the Chazer Kamapam. It's the Rebbe brings here on the Kudah from Michamecha Chavtes that he mentions in Mayim Rabbi. Dort sagt Shekol Mitzias Lamato Hu Murka Midal Disaitis. Shebezeu in Chibrei Saitis. I mean, it's not Be'im Yepira Disaitis the Shra Mitzias. That's the statement. Is what is Mayim? It's a chibur of 4 elements. So each element so it's a chibur of 4 elements. And if without the chibur of the zer nice, each element is in b'fnei. In order for these 4 to integrate, you have to have a keich hamarkiv. It's not nevei mitzad. B'im yipir that says the shar mitzias. V'kei mitziyus ma the keich hamarkiv. Mekasher meyachad that says. Shekeich hamarkiv is a win shalomad ma'adal that says. In other words, so if you make a cheshbon bari, if you look at the mitzias, you don't have to be misbein in inyanim and bezdakim. You look at the Elam Kameshu Ata, the world is not a self how do you say, self-sufficient thing. It's hard to finish. But after the game, we don't view the world. We don't view ourselves that way. We don't view the world that way. So after the last kind of kind of say the Isom Kaim Mitzias Shemai Ve'eretz Chos Hashem Shazabayim L'Izbanos K'mbur Baruch. Yeah. In other words, even though mitzad erzazei begolui, and afa pikein is behelam acher. After efshali is mizagam in hafachi kanal. Chesh rabanetim. Gotcha when shemal the So, and that's a helam. Sounds like they're saying that's a helam acher helam, not a regular helam. So as I start helam that hagam that they were saying when they get to the li ervin yesisin, which is a helam acher helam, that he bechal denies that they existed as azar. But the mashmos over here is it's not a helam that comes as a result that he's not begoli. That's a helam that's creating a massive helam v'hester, even though you should have from the mitzias the way it's nirde but gedav sein anders. That's the mashmos. You have in the Sfid. Oh, we have it here. The Sfid Rebbe's Lashon. It's just interesting. The Sfid Rebbe's Lashon here. Look at the Lashon here. He says, "I'm assuming I'm saying that Gam the since we hold some assuming she's coming. We come can say that English. Gam can say primitive khaysa ma hayza arish primitive the in khaysa ben khon khaysa kan gen khaysa ki. Calls them helvester with children actually khalias calls them helvester research khalias mech gas position dem eigentlich developers. The cause of kech in self lasts salamas stadium cable. So what's really saying here? That's what that is. The cause of machen azach salamas stadium is not the kech in self. That's a kech hablik vot makes such a hester. Even something that's l'chura fully apparent in front of your eyes, that you shouldn't sense the truth of that mitzias that's open in front of your eyes. That's the kech in self machen azach the best. Just l'chura the word. Now, I just wanted the lashon over here. He says to Santa lashon the Friedrich Rebbe Zayim. The Rebbe is coming to the Friedrich Rebbe says. Rabbi Alamas Vesteirim. Where is this? He calls him Helen Vester. He says, "Achi yachaliyes meichi gas kazesh any idea margish." Means Rabbi Alamas, the fact that his meich could be gas. So the fact that he could have such a grave cup that shouldn't. That's an event inside the Helen Vester. It's not that you say it's an outcome. Once the teacher left the room, so you don't see him there. They're saying the fact that you could have a zas sort meich gas, which is mistaken the mitzias in such a eifin, that's bekeach the helabester. So not a regular type of helabester. That's the chod of that gosha. Oh, so now, so good. So here we're saying that let's say it's a keach niflu to be able to hide himself, and to be able to hide himself even when in a way that he's so in front of you, say you're so in front of it and still you can't see him. He hides himself to the extent that even when you're mamish. When he's l'chura right next to you, still you don't notice him. That's a dafke bekeach himself nachman as a helabester. So derech hambur a little bit himself lamata in tachlis. Shu nimtze gam lamata mata even shaler in sof. Derech hambur a little that even in the lowest madregas, the ein sof is nimtze lamata mata. But what's the word before? The word before is that even though the mitzias and nivra is very low, ein sof gefinzach umedum. Not as ein sof gefinzach within the fact that he's not seen. Lamreis, the fact that the nivra is very low, still Ein Sof extends himself everywhere. Is misgal everywhere. Gefinzach umedum. Here they're saying a different word. Although this tnua that he's behelim, der helim gufa is neveah for them. Der zogam ki b'nil ma'ala adin ketz, hana be'ile acher ile adin ketz. At shu helim kol kach she'emer keich v'etzim yodi. Here the chura the ile acher ile is okay, that was going to touch up later, but here the chura means that the air you say zech mailam at kedei kach at she'emer keich v'etzim yodi liyer ben yisuseni v'gam sham v'even shel eivin sof v'rak shel eivin shel helim acher helim. Means das for the air can stehen in azar sort eivin, that itself is neveah mitzad, that's also keich ein sof. It's nicht der Pshat, dass sich mistalek am Memele macht greisen. Schafft him so sein Asaf Helen Vehester. So the Helen Vehester is also that that's neveah mitzadim. That's one way he expresses himself, that he's able to hide himself in such a way. That's also a way of expression. You say he expresses himself in the fact that he's begoli b'chom hakim, and he expresses himself in the way he hides himself. In the eifin of Helen Vehester of Elokur, that's also an expression of what? The Ein Sof, how much he's able to hide himself.
And why is the Dafka Koich said to be mild so much?
That's what Rabbi said. That even though the Metzias is so apparent in front of you, and still you don't notice him, and not, the Rebbe is saying it, I'm saying the figure of his lashon is, we're not blaming a person. The Eibush created as a certain Metzias, a me'ach ha'adam here in Elam Hazah, which could come to make such mistakes. He created that. That's the Rebbe's Vimadik Shavir. The Eibush created a situation where a me'ach ha'adam, even though on one hand he created the world in a way that if you look at the world normally and honestly, that there's a keich alakiyam chayis anibra. And the pile, the Eibush created the me'ach in a way that you could live in the night. That's only he could make such a halavester. So so what's the pshat of ma'ala ma'ala adin ketz? That in the hester is neveah mitzad insav. Not that he exists even in a makom which is far from him. In the truas the hester guf is there's Erin Sof. Means the fact as there can the head hergish alakus is the Ein Sof expressing himself in the eifin that he's not nirgash.
Can we say that's the kula of hadar art?
There you go. Let's not go back over there. I don't know. What do you gain by saying that, please?
The Rebbe brings it out. The Rebbe
Yeah, but I think it's something else.
The Rebbe was bringing out.
That means Gabi Tzimtzum edition. I don't think that's the end of the sif. But that's the Gabi Tzimtzum edition. I don't think he's speaking of here. This is not a word in Erbach. This is the Rebbe is being speaking. It sounds like from the Hemshech HaMamer that this word is already mitzad yichilish le'har the way it's in the sheirish, not the way the Eir is based almost. This is where the keich has to go. Till now, the Rebbe is speaking about the Eir being in a tnu of his almos. And that is kavanasi b'shvil hagilui. Here the Rebbe is saying, the Rebbe says Eir in Sof, but this sounds like it's more mitzad, because the Eir is the gilui etzem. It's not the regular, not the tnu of gilui in a way of his almos. It's he expressing himself in the fact that he's able to hide himself. Not the Rebbe speaking of Tanat since Kavanah said Tzimtzum is that the Erzal Stein Echet in Gvul. The Tnuas Agili the Talmud should be a Keli to the Gvul. Here the Nekud is not the Talmud should be a Keli to the Gvul. The fact the Erin Sof dikt sich in them as you can sich behalten. There is some vantage stamp. This is the stamp from the Yechidus Shtei Lahar. We'll see later. It's not allowed to have to do it. We'll see in the Hemshech HaDvarim here. The one's with me, yeah? So the Rebbe says, "V'zeh b'mashem mamshich b'Mamer ochin ata kel mistater." Oh, so das sagt ochin ata kel mistater. Was sagt k'may sheke kelin yoni is chesed. Means the same way the Tanua in Agilui. The Eibusher is seen and is gala b'chol makom makom. And in the Agilui we see that it's gili b'li gvul. So we said to Lukus, where the Eibusher is ain't self-expressed. See, we see the Eibusher is ain't self in the fact that he's begili b'chol makom. The Tnuas Hagilui, in the Tnuas Hagilui, is zetzach on the godless of Elokus. K'may shekel. The Rebbe doesn't die gloshen ata kel mistater, but the same way kel, which in Yoni is Gilui. Ba'efed ol mata mata hu mebchina da'ata means we see the Ein Sof of Elokus in the fact that he's begoli b'chol makom. Al derech ze masha Elokus mistater. Das ist herzach nicht Elokus. Was Elokus is mistater. So what's the Rebbe saying? Al derech Elokus mistater kavanos v'yishul Hagilui. Or in dem allein, was steht in Efen of Hester, in dem allein setzt sich Ata. Punkt, as in Agilui. The fact that he's begoli b'chol makom. You say, if someone sees a nest, you say, oh, you see the Yad Hashem, you see the Eibishter. So there's then the fact that Teva is Mailam and Master in Holocaust, in dem allein zet v'nechet Ata. That also is the Ata expressing himself. Not expressing himself the fact that he's able to be Mizgala. Expressing the fact that he's able to be Master. He's able to create such a Lamas V'Esteirim. So the Lamas V'Esteirim are also an expression of it. You say there's two methods the Eibusher reveals himself. Not reveals himself to Tnuas Hagilui. To the Tnuas Hagilui you see his Ein Sof, or you see his Achdus, and you see that there's only him, and he's the one directing everything, in the fact that he makes such a hell of a Hester. The Mistater, only the Eibusher can machen Zal Chesed. And you say, as a cert tos, that a niver Zal Zechayinrit, and say, Parei, as I mentioned that he had to hide the fact that he's going to the battle. Lepel convinced himself he ate the It wasn't stam. The fact that a person can make such a mistake that cannot come, it's at Gidra Mitzvahs. Only the Eibusher could make such a mistake.
The Achinat is not talking about which is Kaplan.
No, this is a new Indian. No.
Actually, you see in the puzzle because
this is what the Rebbe is teaching here. For the Rebbe gives a new Indian. What's the Indian of Helen? I'm saying it's a whole new Indian. Before they were a different word.
in the puzzle, how you see this because
At the kill mistater. What's the diuk that the mistater is also kill? So the same way the ato zetzach in kill, al derech zed der zelber der ato zetzach in Hester. It was the same way. What are we saying, Gili? He expressed. What's the chiddush over here? As he sagt, when Gili expresses it. You say there's a person. He expresses his qualities through Gili. Helam is he's not expressing himself. What happens when he doesn't express himself? So there's a jungle. Not that he expresses himself in the fact that he's hidden. You understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference to say he hides himself. As a result of the fact that he hides himself, so his class is having a good time. Or the fact that they don't see him, he makes himself invisible. So the Helam Esther is Zainkeach. So the same way he expresses himself, he expresses his qualities, let's say, through being Nizgale, he expresses his keiches through hiding. So his qualities, so to speak, are expressed. His ato is expressed through Helen.
It's not really talking about the R anymore.
It's a different tnu. We'll see later. I'm saying this, but Pashtus in it is his galus, tnu of Gilu, not the tnu of Helen. But the Indian of Helen Gufa. Yeah, we'll see the. A man, she's megala dort nach Chochmase midaysav. So in his gili setzt sich sein Gadlus. What's Pshat behalten sich? So he's in himself. He's in himself. He was saying not that he's in himself. He expresses himself in the Helamas Vestadium. The Azach Helamas Vestadium is only he could create such a Helamas Vestadium. It's a different type of Helam Vestadium. He could be in a way that no one notices him. And the fact that no one notices him, that guf is an expression of his character. Means that Kadevish, which is Ein Sof. Because he's Ein Sof, he's in Skala Lamata Mata, al der is a mashal kos mistater, who gam kim ba mebchinas Ata. the dafke me Ein Sof yechol yis in lo ma'ala ma'ala atiketz, in lo helam acher helam. Dafke von a Eibisher, which is Ein Sof, it could be helam acher helam. So here the Rebbe says this word. This is not the tunu of Eir. So what does it say Adam ki akriv take? Adam ki akriv, it's not speaking helam mishvil agili. We're saying that there's the Atzmos is not mugder in the gather of Gili. Atzmos could also be behelim. And because Atzmos could also be behelim, so in Eir also there's not only in Agili and Eir, there's also in of Helim in Eir. It's a different union. If the Eir would Sheresh of Eir would be that only inside the lower dark and not Atzmos Mamish, then the Eir would only contain the Tnuas Agili. That's the way Eir is in the Mishalim. The Eir HaShemesh only expresses the Tnuas Agili which the Shemesh has. Not other aspects in the Shemesh. She'ekin Eir L'mayla, it's not to get all the beauty now, but the Nekud is that Eir L'mayla doesn't only reflect the Keach HaGili which exists in the Etzem, he also reflects the Keach HaHelim which exists in the Etzem. Wie wird sich Hareis gebracht an Eir, as that the Mitzad the Eir, there could be Azal Chasar Telemes Vester. Now there's much closer. Baruch Hashem Shazam Avayim Beis. V'kam Mekem Yitzchak Ma'adam Shavush Maseidin. To K'may Shekei Chablik V'lum Blik V'lamiti means the Inyan Ha'er, where the fact that the Eibusher is everywhere, Mispashet, the Nimtza, is Mitzad Amiti, Mitzad Ha'atzmos, Mitzad the fact that the Eibusher is Ein Sof. K'may Ken Kei Chamagdo Ulamata Mizeh Kei Chagvol Nilka Gam Ken Dafke Blik V'lamiti. What I was saying before, we see that it's a Gvol that Dafka Blik V'l Kamachan Azagvol. A Gvul Bagbala wollte ich gern machen als Agvul. But the Rebbe is saying weiter, Harayil is who are you being mailam on the air? There he says that over there. If shel hagbul kech abdigor rakad inin shel mailam. Means the dart and retter that the air in Sof comes in the of Agbal, comes in the of the Salmos. It's interesting because Tona there was speaking about the air Agvul, that the Nekud of air Agvul Guf has never yitzia from Bligvul. There the Rebbe inin of the Salmos which in Yoni is not b'shul agil. Inin of Gvul, inin of the Salmos like. As we can the air magbul, we can the kalim, how can the keich agvul, which in Yoni is gvul, be mailim there. The way is, if you say something regular Moshe Rabbi Talmud, so then the l'chatchila, the whole nekuda of the tzimtzum is b'shvil aris bringing the Ein Sof. Here we're saying there's a yechel, there's in agvul, not in order the bleak vul of the Elyon, to give space for a hergish hayeshes. Meaning nekuda samitzius, the tnu of helav hester guf, being magbul the air. How could if the air is bleak vul, how could the air be in a tnu? How could a davar which is lower than the air, Indian keich agvul, how could that be ma'ila master on the air which is bleak vul? So them zokter because so there he says that it's from the same shelish the That's what he says. The Rebbe says something else. I can shel ma'ila menu. Doesn't say that over there. I don't think. What does it say over there? There the word in Samavav is dafke mitzat dafke the keich agvul has to be from the same shelish of the air. No, it's a yeah, I don't know if the dig of is davar shel ma'ila menu. Davar shel ma'ila from the air which is being misamt from the shelish air. Yeah, it's not nice. Like that's the right that the keich agvul is also beside the same mocker of the air is neveya. Why is the air in Sof? Because it's simshach from the etzem, and that etzem is also keich agvul. So it's kavim shkul. That's what the Rebbe is saying.
The etzem we said already in the beginning in the Mamer. No, I mean it's basically how the Friedrich starts off with Sif.
Yeah, but the Friedrich starts at the Sif.
Before getting into Prata, the Geshem.
That's what it means with the Geshem. Not the Geshem is the same way he's nimshach lamata mata. Al derech zeh is nimshach lamayla mayla.
What's the What's the flaw?
There's a flaw that could be that the air is bisalmos, not necessarily the chelish shalei lahar. The Rebbe speaks kamadargis. There could be kama inyanim with that flaw. Here, what the Rebbe is saying here that the etzem inyan of keich hagvul is an expression of bligvul. Punkt as if the air is Ein Sof. You need only an etzem which is Ein Sof. Could be mispashat Ein Sof. Only an etzem which is Ein Sof could be in a tnu of gvul at Ein Sof. I didn't say that before in the Mamer that in the tnu of gvul is also drik tzechais the Ein Sof of the etzem. That's what the Rebbe is saying here. It means the Ein Sof of Atzmos is not only expressed in the Kav HaGili, it's also expressed in the Kav HaHelim. That it could be hidden at Ein Sof. Where do you see that the Helim, when you say, what do you add Ein Sof? Because he's there and Avabikin you don't sense it. But here the Rebbe is Meisef Nachabart. Shemizei, Adarab, Murchan Chleimer, Eid Yeser, Shebchinas Ata Gufa, Meret Legabi de Etzem, so the Inin HaBligvol, the Inin HaGili, is lower, the Inin HaGvol, Drik Tois HaTifri, Inin the Inin HaBligvol. Shebchinas Ata Gufa, Nekeich HaGvol, Inin the Mestater, Ulamali Yeser Mekil, Gili. Shamestater, Ulamayla Ba'ata Me'akil. That he speaks over there, that the Keich HaGvol, the Chelish Shalei Lahar, is more of an Inyan Asmi than Inyan Agili. Yeah, there's kind of beer in that. Saying the Pashta beer in a way is the Dugmas what the Rebbe is saying a little bit over here. The Inyan Ha'er in a way is Chassidus steht as a word that the more godless a Inyan is, the more mitzad tivui, mitzad the dar verstehen begilu. Something that you say something which is ain't sof. So what's the natural result of being? He'll be misfashed b'chol makom. To be behelding and say the is ain't sof. If something's small, so he's only where he is. Something that's ain't sof, and Ava B'kein is not nirgash, so that means that he's not muchrich in any gdol. What brings out that he's not muchrich to make sense? There's only him. He's not muchrich in what's considered greatness, classic Muslim greatness. That's nisbat in the Kav Helim more than the Kav Gil. Kav Gil make it the Eibush ain't sof. As there's ain't sof, gefit to Ibn Al. He's Sarponim. He's Vizgala b'chol makim. He's Meir b'chol makim. The fact that he's not muchrich to be, he could be without being expressed.
Well, why is saying that he's ain't sof more the natural state than saying that he's the Maila from being ain't sof?
I'm saying because it says on Chassidus, not in Bible. It says on Chassidus that the teva of an Inyan which is the Ili Gadol Ma'ed is to be Bizgalis.
Even when you're talking about Atzmach?
Kaviyachal, the Teva Bli Gvul is to be Begilul. If you say the Musik of Teva there. But mitzad Giluyim, let's say, mitzad Tziyur, an Inyan of Ein Sof should be in a Tnu of Espashtus. The fact that he's not in a Tnu of Espashtus is that because he's an Etzem, that he's not Muchrich to be in any Tziyur. So the Tnu, Giluy, you say he's beyond any Tziyur. Giluy is mitzad the Tziyur. That's in Azay Diktzchais Ein Sof, as a Shteit Begoli, B'chol Makim. So it makes sense in Inyan Giluy. Mashiach in Inyan Helim, that's because the Eibush is not Muchrich in anything. He'll be here and he's not visible. Saying he's here, you don't recognize him. No one's going to say. The Rebbe is speaking about 11th verse there. What's the point of the Salam Esther? No one notices him. What's the point of the Salam Esther? Who said he has to be in a way that you see a point? Who said he has to be in a way that we're able to sense greatness? He's beyond that. We have to sense it. There's him, and he's not muchrich in any. It doesn't have to make sense in any gdol. So the keach ha'etzem, which doesn't have to conform to any milas v'yiluyim, that's expressed in the keach ha'elim more than the keach ha'gili. Gili bli gvul, but the etzem tunu of gili means seherzach dagadus. So it's nicker his milas. So it's nittas in a certain mitzias. Helim herzach garnished. That means the Eibush should take a bashtet. He doesn't bashtet nefes. However he wants to be, that's the way he is. He's not programmed according to any gather v'yilu. So the Rebbe raised Kam Mishalim that the Inyan of Tzimtzum, sich einhalten, is a deeper keach than Inyan of Gili. So it's not an Inyan Nifla. I'm saying a kleine Zach, but Imet Meretach Inyan Amiti, someone that which me'etzem yehusse, say Chachmas Adam Torah Panav, let's say. So it's Inyan Amiti, the mitzad, and it's Chadish like the Septa Chadet over there, and there was such a Gilui has seichel in his guf. Mitzat teva advarim, it has to be misparitz. It has to be. It can't be self-contained. And the fact that it could be self-contained, that's a deeper keach in the keach of Likvul. Sich einhalten ist schwerer, wie zu sich misparitz. Your son's malamed. It's a joke. Actually, this was the Litzanis. When he read the Shabbat, the Leyachas Kalvasheni. It's a famous vertical. That real Pulchad and Shabbos, not Shabbos after Shabbos, but the Lechus Kav L'Sheni, where they that the Eibush said to give a schar to the Klovim, like Kol Tashlichanes, the schar that they were, but the L'chora the Tzfardim jumped into the fire. So that much more serious nefesh. Why don't we find there's a schar for the Tzfardim? So mostly the Tzfardim, but the Chayzim understand there's a vertical that to be quiet is harder. For the Kelev not to bark. Es ist einhalten ist schwer, es ist allein tanzen in der Feier. Tun, es ist nicht, tanzt allein dort, tanzt dort, und es ist nur was Pashtas. But es sich einhalten ist eine schwere Sache. I don't know if this is... Maybe the Gemara is Mishal, Mezek Meishu Lamata Van Atzimtzum. Elam is Lamata, Bekelam Divya. Gam Lamaylam is Bekelam Datzilis, Ad Lifnei Atzimtzum, Ad Ba'atzmus. Oh, so here's Ad Ba'atzmus, Shamu Inin HaYechelis. HaYechelis Lahir, HaYechelis Shlei Lahir. I think this word is also Negei, Lam Rizenda. We're going to get back to this line. So always, the Keach HaGvul, Keach HaHelim, hatten sich am Meile, denn der Keach Agili, Tifre Keach, bis am Eret in Atzmos, where in Atzmos there's a two, mit was besteht der Ein Sof, der Heder Agdara of Atzmos, that he's Ein Sof, he's Begili B'chol Mokim, he's Yochel Lahoyer, he's Adavar Mugbol, kann nicht mehr sein. Dafke mit the fact that the Atzmos is Ein Sof, kann mehr sein. I mean, Dafke am Moir, Dafke an Ein Sof, could be mehr b'derech HaMeil. So Yichidish Lo. There is a fakir. Because he's an Etzem and he's not Mugder, dafür nicht stehen Begov. Yochel Shlei Lahoyer. Dort nicht B'Shabbat. So what's the Rebbe saying here? That the inner of Erin Sof L'Ma'ala in case that there's a tunu of his Amos Ha'er. That's Nevea, that's a result of the Yechelis Shlei Lahoyer in Atzmos. The Yechelis Lahoyer in Atzmos is expressed in the Keich HaGili there. And the Yechelis Shlei Lahoyer of Atzmos is expressed in the air, the tunu of Sahel. So in auch in Atekel Mestater. It's the Zelber Ato. Because there, in other words, Sof Kol Sof, their gateman that the mocker hagvul v'ahelim is an atzmas in Sof Mamish. In the Yechelis Shlei Lahoyer. I think it's not in Zebel in Yerushalayim like the but I don't know. Ashbab Mesater Bepil Adam the Elam is Klifin. So I think that it sounds like that the fact that he's Bab Mesater Ad the Elam is Klifin hot to Tom the Yechelis Shlei Lahoyer mitzad atzmas. That's what it sounds like over here. The Inin of Tzimtzum Shalai Gilei, the Inyan and Yiluyin that he spoke till now, that's all the Inin HaHelim, the way it is, a Mailin Yiluyin, the Inin of Helim. That through the Helim, Verta Reis gebracht the Blikvul of the earth, that he could also be inside the Makal, inside the Talmud. But this Nikud of the Inin of Helim, not L'Shem Shleimus of the Inin HaGilui. The Etzem Zach, nicht Muchach in Gilui, can't stay in the Helim. That's expressed in the Helim of Klifin. That's Achin Atakel Masadah. Thing is, there is the fact that the Helim is higher than Gilui is because Gilui is verbunden with a certain union of Ilui and Maile, a certain gather of Gilui, a certain Ve'alakus, Verta Reis Gebracht, and a certain Hafla and Metzias. Helim is, he's not Mukhrach. You see, it doesn't make sense, why does he ahead of us? It doesn't have to make sense. That verstehen wir Gilui. Wo setzt this Maile of Helim the way it is inside the Etzem? That the Helim is inside the Atzmis of Ve'alakus, which is not Mukhrach and gather of Gilui. That you see in the fact that he's Bo'am Mistater Ba'alm in the Cliffin, in the Tayy of the Cliffin. Mitzad the Inin of Helim, which Shinani B'Shulai Gilui, that the Talmud should be Kemaisa, that I spoke before. So there's a certain Ili Nifla in the Helim. What's the Ili Nifla? That even a Zulas is a Kelitin. His Blik Vul could also be in a Zulas. So that's a certain, it's a Inin that the air is not Mugdar, but it's a certain Ili. It's a Herzach HaGevisar HaFlof and a Lakus. That he's not Muchach, that his Blik Vul should be Dafkin, a Tnu of air, also the Talmud, also the Metzias, could be a Kelit of Blik Vul. But the mitzvah sin of Atekel Mestater is that he's not muchlich in any inyan. As a vir vulkan understand, it doesn't make sense. He's beyond to say that there has to be who said there has to be a point. Vir vul, Fishalibert saying this nikud of that's the Yechelis Shlei Lahoyer, the way it is inside the Etzem, which is not muchlich in any gather of Yili, and that's expressed dafka in the clip in the Helim, which is in the Helim Lamata B'Yesel.
This is the one that we had in Moshantu before you brought Magid.
I don't think. What do you see?
Before you brought Magid, you said that was the whole beer. The Etzem bar to stay Helim.
No, but that I'm saying there's Kama B'Yurim the Ma'ala Shtein B'Helim. There's a Ma'ala because that brings out that the fact that the air could be Nimtza, an Eifan of Helim, that the air is not higher. The Etzem Tnua, there's a Nibra which is not Margishin. Not that the air could be in a state of hiding. I'm not saying that. There is the fact that people could live in such denial. That expresses his kayach. He could make himself not known. You say, what's the point that people should not be aware of the Eibishter? What's the point? Say, what's the ilishib is it? As those wissen as Dan Eibishter, which is not muchrich, that he should make sense to you. Someone says they say the Eibishter wrote many times. I'm not saying as Avar. Say that people are tinus and the Holocaust and these things. Say you thought you forget that should be mechazik them, not mechazik them, but the idea that the Eibishter is beyond what you understand. This is Kaviyadim is Eibishter Toshafen Welten Blikvol Eilumis, and he gave Yidden. You understand very well. This I don't understand. Why did he do this? The Eibishter does not have to be understood. So vu verta reis gebracht that he's not muchrich in Gdorim. He's beyond description. Where's that brought out? And that he does something that we can't wrap our hands around. What's the point of this? When there's a point, even if it's an Indian nifla b'yesir, so that's in of gili. Herzach that flav alukus. That's herzach is the nikudas etzem. Nikudas etzem is there's no Teire does not Agbalas, there's only him. Und was will. Das wird gebracht in the Helem HaShalom Atabi. And that's the Achin Atakel Mestater.
It's below for the, Tzimtzum and Gilei. Same for this.
Yeah.
The Hamer is higher than all the Teredim, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying there's many.
The good also you're saying it's which is higher.
I'm just saying there's many Pratim you want to bring out in the Kudah that Moir is higher than Gilui.
No, I'm saying the word, you heard.
The
Rebbe was that Indian. The whole.
See, they're saying that everything
is here. Say this the Kudah explaining is
I'm saying is the Rebbe is not speaking about. Why is that Helen Gilui? The Ebesh create. There's people living in total denial. A man should sich eingeredet. Keiche ve'etzim yadi alles lies. Can't remember what's the point. The fact that there's a Talmud, and the Talmud is not like the Rav, much lower than the Rav. We understand. Sof kol sof, vertar is gebracht, and even niflamay, that a lakus could also be by a tachten years. The Ebesh created someone that's convinced that he keiche ve'etzim yadi alles lies. Azam shagas. What's the Indian then? What's the Indian then? Azam shagas and stamaz ya nar shatos. Schain geredet that different yeshes and akshama that's glat shagas. So that brings out that Achan Atakal is not the Rebbe Shkamachan as a hell best. So it doesn't make sense. He's not muchlich. He's not muchlich that he has to make sense. You don't have to find an ilui. You don't have to find a mile. He's beyond miles. That's expressed in the Truas HaHelam. A certain Inyan Atzmi that he's not muchlich in ilui va'aflo. He's not muchlich to be verstandig. We don't see godless over here. It's not an Eibishter. It's a different Inyan. It's a different word. And this is the Inyan HaHelam, the way it is inside the Chedesh Leilahar. And since Eir is Nimshach, from Etzem, so the air comes in such a Eifin of Helam Hester.
The Indian of Helam we spoke about before.
I'm saying, inside Gedra Eir, what is given as a Helam Hester? Because inside Gedra Eir is, Eir inside Atzim is Tzir. Is via Lakus Kumtan and Gilui. So the Helam has to be a Helam that contributes to some Gilui. But a Helam doesn't contribute to anything.
The Indian of Helam we spoke about before also wasn't natural inside Gedra either, right?
Say that, but that.
And so there's the Indian inside that's in there as well.
But etzem is a broad word. I'm saying beyond the regular gather of blikvol. So it's not mugdar, but it's the Indian of ilui. The pearl, we see a certain virtue in this Indian. We could explain in what's b'shteit aflo. Then he does what he wants. Doesn't have to fit. Doesn't have to conform. So Zag was Kenzen. I'm not.
Why is it different?
What do you mean? It's a different part.
Oh, Diko is slavisch, ist dabei, was schon der. Ist slavisch,
there's one way of saying, someone has a cut, the Eibishot get, it's not pashta zach. Everything seems like it makes sense. Mitmal the Eibishot the zach, ich verstehe nicht, was getan. So what's the result of that? You realize that the Eibishot is beyond understanding. That's a certain Indian that the Atakil Mestater bringt da is. Du meinst, du verstehst und verstehst nicht. Nicht muchrig in any gdorim of Ilui. Any gdorim of Ilui. You don't see what's the point. He's not muchrig that things have to have a point. This is what he wants. And that also tells us when they get to the air, that it's all, there's the kavanah se'etzim. It's not because of a certain Ilui and something that has to, that has a clip. Kach nesabed.
And the date also not.
Pnimis, about everything. It's all one emes. But this emes is nisgala through the union of Helam V'Hester. The kavanah should be gilu. The kavanah is not through Helam V'Hester. Okay, this is the problem. What Indian Zeva is on this clip is says Achebab mistater bepoil was says that Ata kommt and dikt zechayes in the mistater bepoil. The kavanah sabriya is, but not that it should stay in the state of Li Erev and Yesisi. Is on this galavern that the fact that there's such a phenomena is the Ata kel mistater. There's good on this galavern. V'zeh mashen is bar leil shebeis ha'inyanim. Yeah, this point that Rebbe spoke about Tish Tasha Mafei. You don't have the Sicher Chilik test. You can see a lashon over there. The Rebbe said that he's in the Hester Gufa. There's a teres about the Rebbe said it is that if someone thinks that look at the lashon asir. There's no Chilik test, right? Okay, it's just together. So much is bro. I have to see the Sicher inside. You'll see the lashon there. The Rebbe was vacant with the Sicher of Tish. The Rebbe spoke Shabbos Shuvah. The day the Rebbe Zechana passed away. It gewähnt stark, but Anechi Haster Aster Pana Beim Hu Teres the Teres about the Teres the Rebbe Steiner. That's Zeu Sheker Mamish. The fact that a Yid thinks that he's it's not Margish Alakus, is a Sheker. So what means a Sheker? He's not married from his point of view. He's not Margish Alakus. That's a sheker, because the heder ahergish does gufas inside the rad. The hester gufas is not because he walked away there if you don't feel it. He's the master. He's the one that creates the hell of hester. He's behind it. Yeah, it's a look in the Lashon Sifid. But so much as well as we're in such a simple amount because matter the tachas, so in the matter the tachas. Oh, it says Elos. He in the matter the tachlis nimshach mekech hamamshach vekech hameir. In the matter the ketzu belam achelim va'kech shaleiloi lahalim uletzamtzim. I think the Teres Hamarav Magid is a general word. You could learn it as a general. You could learn it as al derech like the Moshe Brava Tavla that in an Ehelim is b'shvila gili, tzuk mitzunach ha'hecheri. Or the Magid saying a general thing. The Eibush Shaved Olam is v'steirim. Saf kosov there should be the yichud ha'adam with the Eibush. Because the kavanah is not there should be the Helim v'hester. The kavanah is as a chen atzmos. The kavanah is that this inin gufa, the fact that the Elam is v'steirim is the ata is mistater does gufas on this galaver. It's as a chen in the Helim v'hester of keich v'etzim yadi that is the Eibush behind it. That goof has to be this guy. You understand what I'm saying? The kavanah is not that it should stay Helen v'hester. The kavanah is on the skalaver in the Helen v'hester that in Yana is that Erin Suf is not murchach to be in a way that's verstanden. You say it's a Holocaust. The kavanah is not there should be the Salmas Holocaust. The kavanah is on the skalaver and that only the Eibush is behind this. It should bring out that the Eibush is not murchach in any inyanim, and everything that exists is in order, is all to express him, is all atom. The state of Keich V'Eitzim Yadi is not Kfiyah Kavanah, because the fact that everything is the Ata, that's Herzachnish. The Kavanah is that should be in his Galut. The Mayer, you can look at it as more breiter word. Yeah. It's interesting because if you listen to the, ich habe nicht gehört die ganze Hadron, but the one if you listen to Fabringen a little bit, mehr the Fabringen. It's aimed. I didn't listen to the whole to the end, but I'm saying because one part of the state is that that Kolzman, you see, when they went to Harat Seifim, so then quite a big day. But when they came to Shul, Azasar Churban, so they were Tzubracha. Azasar Helen V'Hester, we can make sense out of the Helen V'Hester of Etzem Churban Yerushalayim, that we could see a mile, or we could fathom that Helen V'Hester. But then you see Helen V'Hester of Shul and Hulchu by Stamazay, it's a Gemara Asada. Stamazay, there's a fox, Dreitz Charum. There's no, it's not a Tnu of Stamazay that it's the Kihil HaMakim Chayim. So the Rebbe says that Azasar Helen V'Hester only. So what did Akiva tell them? What did Akiva say? That Azasar Helen V'Hester calls man there was no such a Helen V'Hester can remain in. That the Remi more Nizgaber that they were Nizgaber and B'mei there was a Churban. Azasar Helen V'Hester you can't mistake in the fact that it's him. Dafkim it said Eitzim Helen V'Hester. So you can't deny the fact that only the Eibush creates such a Helen V'Hester. And that's B'snicham Tanu, that Saf Kol Saf, whatever, I don't know, the Hamshach HaDvarim, the Sikha there speaks out in the Veda of the, everything over there is mixed as of the beer of the Gemara with Yidden America. Shar Ferede, but Das Balbat Meheper Das Teira. Come in, okay. No, so the Rebbe says this word there, that once Ba'etzim Helen V'Hester, you can't deny already that it's him that's behind the Helen V'Hester. And Saf Kol Saf, and this Galat, that's the Taket Mechuvin of the Helen V'Hester. It's also Chen that Aaron Saf is not Mechuvin. Anyways, okay. V'nei B'chin L'mayla Ma'la Din Ketz, Helen Acher Helen, Ados L'Inin Eitzer. There's a whole Nekud of Eitzer in the Mashal is, Shigam Hu Be'Helen. It's in Yoni of Helen. I mean, this Inin of Echelis Leila Hoyer, we're not dealing with the Kus comes in Gilu. Gilu is, he comes in Inyanim which Begoli express him. Tnuas Habli Gvul, Begoli expresses the Lukus. Nes expresses the Lukus. Teva, his Amos, how does that express him? Now it begins up that there's Inyanim Ne'elam in a Lukus, which is expressed Dafka in the Tnu of Hell. It means the Ein Sof, which is not Mugder in Geder Agili, the Etzem, Vert Areis Gebrach, Dik Zecheis, in them was a Sheit Beis Amos. That the Tnu of his Amos expresses the Etzem, which is higher than Gili. der Menachem Mulchama Nesum Lerek beginnt Lamata den Tachlis. Als kan bewijzen we ze maar iets. Zo je normaal dat ik het. Maar deze mensen gaan je zelf zo gaan. What's the giving us that we're able to megala even in a tacht and beyeser? Even a tacht and beyeser that gilei der line dort nicht. That in a blikvo is out there that brings over here helm acher helm that there's clip in the toy of a that the in a gilei in a blikvo der line dort nicht is totally in denial. The only way to misaken sein emes in megale that der hester is ata. That's the only way to fix this tacht and beyeser. With gilei kann man nicht ankommen dahin. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying what could be. I'm not saying it. In the Sikha, the Rebbe read as Anakodim. In the Sikha, the Rebbe speaks to that there is, if you listen to the Rebbe speaks to that there is being pale on the Matai, the Eir. There's the way Rabbi Shua was pale on Zulas, and then there's in Yoni Rishus, Akiva Necham Tano of Misat Rosh Hashanah, Atam Afilu Shegi to be pale, even in a Yid that doesn't have any Shegi. As Asher Telam B'Ester, you still don't need to have a P'sakeach Nifel. Then there is pale Zayin of Hameinish Kela, Hameinish Sharem, to be pale by a Cheshach of Umasayla. That's a Tachne B'Yesu. There with the Keach HaGilu, Kamenish Pels on Abzit. By a Yid, so the Helen V'Ester is Abishal HaGilu, you could work on it. Then you have Helen V'Ester, Al Derech, like they were saying here, Klip in the Teiva Vayu, which is totally detached of Yidin HaGilu. It's an ununderstandable Helen V'Ester. And in order to Uftan Dortna Zichach is that the Keach HaEtzim, which is not Mugdir in anything. And the truth is, that this Etzim, which in the Lovade, the whole Hester is the day Mitzadim. And Mitzad that Dafka Mitzad the Etzim, which is not Mugdir any Tzir, is Erider Primis and Alts, also from that Helen V'Ester. So Shal is, what type of Keach do you have? You have the Keach of if you have only a Keach of the Eira Blikvo, so you're not going to be able to repel everywhere. Because you have Azar Sert Cheshach, which is not misspelled from the Eira Blikvo. Vestem Nishtirma. So even though he sees for a fact that he's totally in a nefesh, the per that's the kind that Keach V'Etzim also is Chayin Azeh. And the Eibush has God was Sirtim Nishad, there was 6 of them. By a guy, you can have Mitzitz, if there's Rebbeim, you have unlimited day. And to be pale even on a tacht and b'yesh, you need to have Keach Etzim, which the Etzim is not mugdar in any tzir, and he's the primius of everything. And even the Cheshach that exists, it's all him hiding himself. The Chatchil is nothing outside of him. But at that Keach, we can menatzeach Mulchama. Kinir, in Avedis Adam, we deal with Azach Sert Lemes V'Stei, was enough unconvinced, beside Yechelish Leila Hoyer, can say. We'll leave it to your imagination. No. Nicht too much fear. No. Please, Shlomo says but the Rebbe says first, Nafani b'im et lamata mata adin tachel, Nafani b'im inin ha'er. The Pel Defika was Meilech and Mamer more when they get in of air. After air, you have to also deal with the inyanim of lamata mata. Huh? I'm saying, but last in the Dal Damas, it's all the lamata mata and the Ketz is, this Gal says. So da lamas versteht them. Can es chmenish nyani lo hazem saying. Good. Zema the was some chances on come after vision is not is of kidai kham come kavana sheyadam we lunch shots up. Have to be careful. I'm seeing over here on the video. Always going to usually the last when it comes to the last shit keiner hat ich gekehrt zu herrschen. Kann man reden was so.
Usually they also cut off in the middle maybe.
Come kavana he sheyadam yo we lunch shots up. Shem na tsvam kham de pay. Shkhani kram shim tsi besavai. Yeah. Meits is when it's in the first commission is in Mitzrayim ksiv. The Yotzu mir in Mitzrayim al tzavayis was the Kodesh Shem Tzivas Hashem. That's what we're saying here. Same way we say Mitzrayim, but they were called Tzivas Hashem. K'meken in the first Yisrael Shasat Keinu, the Yisrael Zman HaGolus. So it's also through the Aved of Yidden's being Tzivas Hashem. The Nitzuach HaMelcham B'Payol, that's which is through the Malamada that gets is das Tzivas Havai. As every Yamot. The Yitzias Yisrael and Mitzrayim was connected to the Tnur, the fact that Yidden are Tzivas Havai. The Gula is going to be through the Aveda of Tzivas Havai. What's the Aveda of Tzivas Hashem? The Aveda of Shemeshach Lana Golas. The Yitzias Melchama is with the Eitz of Yerushalayim. Tzivas Hashem. Tzivas Hashem means that a Chayo goes at Kabbalah Sil, on Cheshbeinis. That's Eitz of Yerushalayim, which is in the Nefesh. And that makes the Yida Keli to the Eitz of Shalamayla of the Lamayla Mada Adiketz. As the Iber Gemenkait without Cheshbeinis, from his premise nefesh to the Kus on Cheshbeinis, is Nimshach Lehem the Keach HaEtzem, which is Lamayla Mada Adiketz, and with them is Menasech Melcham. Punkt is when he gets his Mitzrayim. The koyach lots is Messiah was because the fact that Yidden were service Hashem. Al der zanenu zeh the koyach have to menatzer zayin is the malam adiketz. A yid should be a keli to the malam adiketz is through the Yirah Shemayim shebenafshi the nekudas habitul which he has benefesh as there gets a chibur on cheshbeinis to the kavan. That's the koyach that he has the malam adiketz. And then to the etzem which is also beyond cheshbeinis. And then is the bnei soyisim yadrama and the mishis can call it mamash. That's so what you see that I'm saying you look at the Friedrich Rebbe Sif and look at how the Rebbe explains how the Rebbe the inyan that the Rebbe brings. You see that it's a whole different epistutzach the inyanim. But let me just send. We should see the last line of the Friedrich Rebbe Sif. Maybe it's kedai to. Cause we can't have last Shlomo sustained cave. Shame shay spashed this bit. The fact that he gave me spashed this Adam the Yisrael Khain so we can't have tafke. Al there's the fact that he gave me Mailim is also Khain so. The zod so we can't have to start this is we want to stay we can have the mamish. Shame shay chesed kill. You can give it give chesed shame kill can you say something can have the mamish. Zod so you can screen me tazo give this fast me is can Khain so you know krum we so Khain so. But the Rebbe is not. But the Rebbe is madgish this word of the that the fact that the Keich HaGvul is noch tiefer from the Keich HaGilui. The state that figure is not madgish in this in the etzem inyan that the Ma'ala adin ketz that the Keich that to be be'elam is v'esterim adin ketz is mitzad also Keich HaGilui.
Because the figure doesn't say here yet that Mamer gets to the Oitzer, whereas the Rebbe already spells it out.
What I'm saying with the Rebbe is Maz, but also the Rebbe is involved in the Mamer, how each shlav that the Friedrich Rebbe brings, every prat that he brings there is neget to bring out the Ma'ala of the Ma'ala that gets. The fact that he's Meidach Rebbe neget to the fact that since he's not master of the Gabba the Elyon, that's akdoma to what he wants to say weiter. It's not that Lam Reis. Pasha Sif is, even though he's not Begila, even though the truth is in Sif Shilagila, the Poel heads of decision. And there should be such a matzim is everything that's a lower hell of a hester. And Mamela, it's a higher Indian Lamayla than the case. It's not in the Sif. The Rebbe's figure was Kamel Kamei Danim, but it's not Eizketach. We're saying every Shlab brings out another Ilui of the Indian Ahel. And the ultimate Ilui is that it's Hecher from Gedra Gidei the Gam. Yeah, this is nice. The verstehen die Indianen.
Was Indian that never Eizketach before Mamer was Talis?
What do you mean? No. What do you mean I'm murdered with Dallas? The etzem tnu of murdered with Dallas?
Something before, but the Rebbe brings more, right?
The Baal Shem Tov, yeah, that the fact that they be chibur of Helam and Gilei is inside because through the tzitz is Galad Be'etzem. It says in Mishnah Begani. Yeah, I'm saying I don't know if that's the pashtus to the Pshat. No, Shnei Tazeh, I don't know if the Rebbe brings in the Maimon Mishnah Begani that the fact that there's chibur eres zekelim is mitzad through tzimtzum vertens Galad Be'etzem, vertens Galad Be'etzem. And the Moir is not Mugder in Eir and Hell, the degree the Chibur is the Kilim. I don't know, it doesn't say it over here, that's for sure. It's saying, well, the Muslim can say.
No, so before we speak about,
saying what it sounds like is the Baal Shem Tov of the Magid, Baal Shem Tov is the Etzem Inin of Ribi Alamis. So the Baal Shem Tov brings B'nei Tzimtzum Rishon, the Aleph Atov, and then there's the Alman Cliffin. That's Ribi Alamis, that's supposed to bring out the Helam Acher Helam Adin Getz. And generally the Kavanah Selim is Shila Gilui. That's the Magid. Now in Pratim, what's the Helim and what's the B'Shila Gilui in every level? That's when the Rebbe starts speaking the Hemshech, within the signal of Adiyah V'Alishanisi. That there is the Helim Mitzat Tzimtzum itself. It means the Tzimtzum weight is in the Eir HaBligvul. The Tzimtzum the weight is in the Eir HaGvul. And the Tzimtzum weight is Kanasi, the Chenetiyes Kamesi. And then there is the Tzimtzum which is not B'Shila Gilui. And that's Daf Kedamitis L'mayla Malad. That could be the Hemshech Advarim D'Mayla.
What you said about the whole, there's a Kiddush, B'zayah Tzimtzum.
Tzimtzum is fine.
He has Kevin already.
That Tzimtzum is not. The
Tzimtzum
is not. The figure is Lashon there is the Ret and Tzimtzum as Mitzias V'yesh, not the Volu as people. And it never stated out that even that it's even mitzad the Zulas. I'm saying could be the word is. I'm saying something else. That the Rebbe wants to bring God, and that's a ma'ala I think yes. The Rebbe says even though the Keich HaGvul, the Eir HaGvul is the Eir was also called Eir HaGvul, the Pele wasn't nirgash to Tzimtzum. Was the Tzimtzum aufgetan that the Eir HaGvul was nirgash? So that's a ma'ala in Tzimtzum. Dafke durch Tzimtzum the Eir HaGvul was nisgalit. And the Eirek Vol is connected to the fact that the Eibishter is Amitis Ein Sof. The Rebbe says, because it's Ein Sof Amitius, he's also Kelul Eirek Vol. So without Tzimtzum, so the Shariz gebracht the Eirek Vol, then there wouldn't have been the beauty of the Amitis Ein Sof. The fact that Ein Sof Shlomo the Kolam, and maybe it could even be in a tzir of Gvul, mitzad lifnat Tzimtzum Gufe, it wouldn't be expressed. That's a mile in Tzimtzum.
In Grace Gil, we spoke about only in the end specifically how he said the whole word how Tzirim, how the whole rate of Tzirim, that the symptoms to show Levish not Mugba and the Tzir. Before you become bull, right?
Good, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm saying the last Kudah is taka higher than that.
But the Chiddush there's a whole higher than
Last Kudah is taka
higher than that. That's what I'm trying to say. Higher than the word that the previous Sahel is given. So higher than Yimachlav. Atzmus eni muchrach b'shum davar. As the Lashon of Legani Mamer Aleph. That the Yechedesh Leila higher is that it brings out that Atzmus eni muchrach b'shum davar. Doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to conform. As it ergavot. And now the kavana is that this that mizal the head and the helim that it's him behind it. That's something else. Not
Does that bring an Elay to it?
No, not the Shemila. As a villa. We're talking about there was Bashtetish Kin Elay. Does Gufas as a he wants to be made. Come up, it's not a part of Elay after.
It's Elay on the system Arab on the Arab level.
What's the Elay? That is an Ephraim of Escal is Batsmusi. But there is a couple of Mamer that the Indian of the fact that the Erebib is Almos, the Lashon of Figo is also here the Lashon Escal is Batsmusi. The fact that the Simpson, the Erebib is Helam is because the air is the way it is inside the Mar. And inside the Mar, the air doesn't have to be Begilid. I think it's a stark Lashon in the Mamer Zayim Tafshin Yidal, I think. The Rebbe says there's a stark Lashon that I don't remember exactly the bitu, but it's a strong bitu that the idea Simpson, it's the air the way it is inside the Keich HaMar, something like that. And it's the air the way it is inside the Mar, so the air, he doesn't have to be Begilid, doesn't have to be Nergesh with the Makabah. It's that the Eivish has Ein Sof and made there's a Begilid. That type of Gilui is not mukbal to the Gdarim of Gilui. Whatever, there's beauty for it, but that's...
That's the belief of the earth, that's beside the Mar.
That's the Aliyah Sa'ir Ba'amar. That's the air the way it is inside the Mar. Not the Tnuas Ha'ilay Shalei Lahar. It's the air the way it is inside the... Later there's even the Yechedesh Shalei Lahar, it's not the Eivish. That the Amit is Sheir Sha'ir, that it's inside the fact that the Mar is Yachol Lahar. Not the Kodesh Shalei Lahar. There is the air the way the air is inside the Tzir of air. Then there's the air the way it is inside the fact that Atzvus is nice in himself, the Mile of Mar. They made it could be beginning.
Mile of Mar is a more of a scholars?
No, not the Mar. The Mile that it could be Meir. The Kodesh Ha'ir. There's a Mile of Gilui. And there's an inner that is not murch to be dafkin etzim. It can be mispashit. That yecheles leispashit, the way it is inside the Mar is going to be. That's an expression of the fact that he's in Sof. Because he's in Sof, it could also be mispashit. I mean, it's at that Indian that Tru says Spashis is not mukbal to the Gdarim of Gili, to the Agbolas of Gili Spashis.
What comes to the Simpson is not similar to what we see more of the scholars.
Why is it go to Marv's Dals? Marv's Dals is that the Tru of Etzim, that the Mar is this Dals. Tell say this that. The Eir the way he is inside the Mar. There's Indian of Gili. We're not talking about the Mar now, which is Etzim higher than the whole Indian of Gili. We're talking about there's an Indian of Elokus, could be the Gili. So Gili means that it can be felt and sensed by Nevroim. So there is the Gili inside the Gather of Gili. Then there is, because the Eivish is Ein Sof, Ken Hashem Begili. The Ken Hashem Begili inside the fact that he's Ein Sof, the way it's inside the fact that he's Ein Sof, is not mukbal in the problem of Gili. We're not talking the Indian Gili, not something else. But the Indian Gili, the way it's inside the Keich HaMar. The last thing in Tavshin Da'at, the Lashon is that Tzimtzum is the air was Nas'alit, the way the air is Mikeich HaMar. I think that the Mar has Kama v'Kama Keiches. One of them is Keich HaGili. I mean, it's at that Indian, the Gili is not to be Nirgash. Another Mamer also, this is I think in the Mamer Zayim is a Shar Falash. Because I'm also, I think it's Kemet Seis Chatavshin Tazayim. There's also the Rebbe read the meaning there. That the Skal is Batsmusi, that the air, but there's a little different Lashon. That the air is Mis'alet to Dargi B'chelis. That's when you get to the Etzim of Tzimtzum. That's not Skal is air Batsmusi, right? That's all that you have to Gili the way it is mitzad the Sheirish Mokre. But here the Rebbe is saying then there is a higher Indian than Gili. You have the fact that the Gili can even be in Kalim. And then you have a Chlal, there's Nishmukbal in Kalim in the Gans in Gili. It's nothing.